22nd National Sport Festival, President Tinubu flags off movement of the Torch of Unity.
Let me reiterate this administration's commitment to supporting and providing an enabling environment and incentives for sport development at all levels.
INEC queries petition of recall of Natasha, cites some irregularities.
We are happy with what is happening, and we do believe that in the not too distant future, this will become a reality here in Niger State.
Federal government's livestock drive gains momentum. Healthcare delivery, digital innovation and supply chain development top on FG's target.
It's core to the vision of Nigeria as a prosperous country, and with the people at the center of it. And reducing maternal mortality and newborn mortality and child mortality are proxies.
Good evening and welcome to the Network News. I am Olajide Bello. Joining me on the news tonight is Badi Adele for sport updates. Badi, with the outcome of Nigeria's match today, what's our fate?
Olajide, we're in a very bad place, but mathematically, Nigeria can still qualify. We need luck and a lot of hard work.
All right, we're going to keep our fingers crossed then, Badi. Many thanks. Remember, you can watch these broadcasts live on our website, nta.ng/live, and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen. President Bola Tinubu has flagged off the movement of the Torch of Unity to begin awareness creation for the 22nd National Sports Festival holding in Ogun State capital, Abuja, in May this year. At the event, President Tinubu called on public and private sectors to actively contribute to Nigerian sport development, particularly in infrastructure expansion, talent identification, athlete nurturing and sponsorship of sporting events. State House correspondent Musbaud and Wahab reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the coverage of the flag off of the movement of Torch of Unity for the 22nd National Sports Festival, and it begins like this from the State House, Abuja. The Deputy Governor of Delta State, which last hosted the 21st edition, brings the torch and hands over to Shehu Diko, Chairman, National Sports Commission. All the torch has to be lit, and then to the big man, President, Commander-in-Chief, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, and the President passes it on to the chairman, local organizing committee, who hands over to the torch bearer, Falilat Ogunkoya, one of the most successful Nigerian athletes, and now to Ogun State representative to host the 2025 National Sports Festival. The 22nd edition of the biggest national sporting event is tagged the Gateway Games 2025. And for President Bola Tinubu, the Games represent much more than just a competition of athletic skill, but embody the unity, strength and resilience that define Nigeria as a nation. He stressed that enhanced collaboration is essential for advancing the nation's sporting potential and ensuring Nigeria remains a dominant force in global sports.
Every step we take together towards the festival is not merely an act of preparation for a reporting event, but a reaffirmation of our collective commitment to nation building through sports. Let me reiterate this administration's commitment to supporting and providing an enabling environment and incentives for sport development at all levels.
This is the first edition of the festival to be organized by the newly empowered National Sports Commission, and the chairman promises that the organization of this event and other efforts will prove the deliberate intention of the administration to reform the sector toward actualization of a vibrant sports economy for the country.
Therefore, the National Sport Commission is doing all that is required in collaboration with all stakeholders to upscale and ensure the organization of the best games ever in the upcoming Gateway Games Ogun State. That will set a marker for future games.
Ogun State is fully prepared. We are not only ready to host over 10,000 athletes and officials, but also to warmly welcome guests and supporters from every corner of the Federation.
From the FCT, the Torch of Unity is to travel through the 36 states of the Federation before commencement of the Games from the 16th to 30th of May this year. From the State House, Musbah and Wahab, NTA News.
Over now to Badi Adeleye for sport updates. Badi, you have the floor.
Many thanks, Olajide. Let's begin by letting you know that the Super Eagles of Nigeria are now in danger of missing out of the 2026 FIFA World Cup after they were forced to a painful 1-0 draw by Zimbabwe in their matchday 6 encounter of the qualifiers in Uyo earlier this evening. The Super Eagles failed to build on their victory over Rwanda last Friday to move further up the table as they conceded in the 90th minute after Victor Osimhen looked to have secured the 3 points with his header in the 74th minute.
Of course it is! Osimhen, goal number 3 in 2 games. The delivery was sumptuous from Oleina. Well, it's taken some time for the Super Eagles. And Nigeria, if it stays like this, will be taking the points. Lovely play! Oh my! Look at that, that's sensational from Zimbabwe. And they get themselves the goal.
Heartbreaking. Meanwhile, South Africa made it 2 wins in 2 games as they secured a comfortable 2-0 away win over Benin Republic in another Group C encounter played this evening to extend their tally to 13 points, meaning they are now 5 points clear on top of the group and 6 points ahead of Nigeria, while the match between Rwanda and Lesotho ended 1-1. As things stand, the Super Eagles are not out of the running for a World Cup ticket, but their destiny is evidently out of their hands with only 4 rounds of matches left to be played. Now, Nigerians have been reacting to the 1-0 draw against Zimbabwe as the qualification chances of the Super Eagles have gone slimmer.
I mean, I don't know what to say, man, but look, this is a very, very terrible situation. I don't know why the Eagles slacked off and allowed that equalizer, and they didn't even score up until the 74th minute. So let's see how it goes. If the Eagles keep still playing well and all of that, I believe that something could still happen.
It's quite disappointing, and in the manner at which we considered at the death is heartbreaking. And they need to really wake up. They need to wake up. And that is the role of having leaders on the field. When you have a game and you are leading, towards the end of the game, you manage the game. So disappointing.
A bad day in the office. Let's return to Olajide for the continuation of the news.
Many thanks, Bade, for keeping us up to speed in woven sport. Now let's move to the National Assembly. The Senate has commended President Bola Tinubu for his cooperation with the National Assembly to fast-track development in the 6 regions of Nigeria. This is coming on the heels of the President's latest assent to the establishment of development commissions for the South and Southwest zones. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, announced President Tinubu's assent to the 2 bills to establish development commissions for South and Southwest, bringing to 6 the number of development commissions to bridge development gaps across geopolitical zones in Nigeria.
We thank the President. We are grateful for his cooperation. We are grateful for creating jobs. And we also are grateful for taking development to the grassroots level at our subnationals.
Senate has passed for second reading bill to establish Federal University of Science and Technology in Akpa, Lagos State, sponsored by Senate leader Okpeyemi Bamidele.
For Nigeria to become one of the world's leading economies as currently being pursued by this administration, we must be ready to adjust and position our educational institutions so that its products are geared for the technological challenges inherent in such projections.
Senate has, in the meantime, mandated its Committee on Federal Character to investigate ministries, departments and agencies of government to a certain level of compliance with constitutional provision on federal character in recruitment, appointments and promotions, sequel to a motion from the Minority Whip, Senator Osita Ungu.
Despite a focus on geographical quotas, imbalances persist between institutions, often relocating problems rather than solving them, while certain regions remain underrepresented.
We understand that some MDAs are recruiting people secretly, and in most cases, these appointments are subjective.
Talking is one thing and doing is another. This is something that touches on the very fabric of our very existence.
The Red Chamber has confirmed the appointment of Sylvester Nwakuchendidi as Comptroller General of the Nigeria Correctional Service, with a call on him to work towards eliminating prison break. Also confirmed by the Senate is the appointment of Professor Melvin Ayogu as a member, Board of Directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
A constitution alteration bill for general elections to the office of the President and all other elective offices across tiers of government to hold simultaneously on the same day are past second reading in the House of Representatives. National Assembly correspondent Mitari reports that this was among 40 bills that scaled second reading in what is seen as a marathon consideration of bills at Tuesday's plenary.
The 40 bills which scaled second reading border on judicial reforms, inclusive governance and electoral matters. The bills include proposals seeking to make the Court of Appeal the final arbiter in governorship, national and state houses of assembly election petitions, another to remove heads of courts based on National Judicial Council recommendations, as well as proposals for establishment of state and local government police. One of the bills wants INEC to be empowered to conduct local council elections, while another proposes establishment of a separate National Local Government Electoral Commission for the purpose. Both bills, however, passed second reading. Notably, the bill seeking the conduct of elections to all elective offices in the land on the same day scaled second reading after suffering rejection last year.
Remember that if we have all elections in one day, the accreditation that is used for the state assembly or local government or House of Rep is the same accreditation for the presidential election.
The constitution alteration bills have been referred to the House Constitution Review Committee for public hearings and further legislative actions. The House also passed resolutions seeking intervention for communities battling erosion in Kano State, as well as insecurity in Imo State.
All Infage local government area of Kano State are facing severe and destructive environmental degradation and poverty as a result of erosion and floods occasioned in the said communities. This environmental degradation needs to be addressed and their effects need to be reduced on the populace.
Killings, kidnappings and banditry has recently taken on upsurge in Ingopala local government, and if not checked, might lead to complete state of anarchy.
The report on the 2024 Hajj exercise has been laid at plenary for consideration. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikwen, NTA News.
And away from the National Assembly, Nigeria is to upscale efforts in humanitarian services as the international community sees the country as a reference point. Nigeria got this recognition following the proactive steps taken in financing development for humanitarian assistance. Ruth Aguele reports that this was at a roundtable dialogue by key players in humanitarian sector in Abuja, organized by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction.
Nigeria is dealing with a range of factors that contribute to the growing concern of humanitarian crises across the country. Addressing these challenges is the thrust of these 2 days national roundtable dialogue organized by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, to engage humanitarian actors to come up with durable solutions to address complexities of humanitarian crisis in the aspect of sustainable financing, while enhancing an effective humanitarian coordination among key players.
We must focus on a hugely generating fund for humanitarian development and peace initiative, including closer collaboration with the private sector. Allow me to commend Nigeria for the proactive response to this global shift in financing, development, and humanitarian assistance.
If today we have long-term capital that can fund irrigation, in many places poverty will reduce and humanitarian intervention will be localized.
So I hope that this forum will also be then an opportunity to think about how we reform the humanitarian system to make sure that we become more efficient, more accountable.
Today, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Nentawe Yilwatda, called for collective action among key players beyond metrics but taking practical steps, while reaffirming federal government's commitment to transform policies into life-changing solutions to create an impact in the humanitarian space.
We must be also conscious of Mr. President's 8-point agenda, which is completely and in totality geared toward addressing humanitarian crisis in Nigeria and also addressing the issue of poverty.
At the end of the 2 days dialogue, key players are expected to build resilience, adapt new models of humanitarian financing, strengthen interagency coordination, and foster a network of trust and transparency in meeting humanitarian needs across the country. In Abuja, Ruth Aguela, NTA News.
And joining me in the studio is the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Nentawe Yilwatda. You're welcome to the Network News.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now, going by the current realities and growing concern to address humanitarian crisis, how much impact will this round-table dialogue have?
Yeah, like you heard in the background, the numbers that the people affected in different forms, either by the economic shocks or by climate change or by crisis. Now, when you say about 3.3 million Nigerians are displaced, these are numbers. These numbers are almost a state. Most states have a population of less than 3 million, but we have about 3.3 million Nigerians who are displaced. And these people need attention, and we need resources. But these resources are limited. But the question we're asking now is, what are the root causes of this crisis? How can this crisis be tackled? How can we aggregate resources together and make much more impact? How can technology help in enhancing these opportunities? And that's what we're discussing in this roundtable today, so that we can also share responsibility. We can aggregate the limited resources. Mark you, US and most Western countries are cutting off their donation to humanitarian services. US by over 90%. France by 37%, UK by 40%, Netherlands by 25%, and so on, which means that limited resources are getting more limited. And I can also add to you, just for concern, we have almost about 8,000 jobs being created by international NGOs. They've cut those jobs by 30%. These are numbers of people who are going jobless. So we're losing jobs. People are having more crises. We have less hands to manage a huge humanitarian challenge that we have. And that's why we're here, to see how we can aggregate the resources together. Those limited resources, how do we make it more effective, more efficient, and it will reach the least person on the street? How do we make it more dignified, so that people who are out there, they have a durable solution? They must not just be given handout, but you can provide livelihood for them, source of livelihood for them, so that they have their life being recovered, and they have their life recovered also with dignity. And that's what we're discussing in the roundtable.
All right, sir, you spoke about limited funding now, and of course you just made mention of how to, streamline the resources. How do you think stakeholders in this sector can help to achieve that?
That's what I say. We're discussing it here. We're saying that in that discussion, we're saying that each stakeholder needs to contribute. We have state governments, we have local government, and we have federal government. What role can the state governments play? We give approximately, we have 36 states plus FCT, making 37. If they can make budget for humanitarian activities in each state, let's assume each state can bring in like 40 billion naira for their states for humanitarian activities. Each local government can make a budget for humanitarian activities. We are national. We also have our budget for humanitarian activities. It simply means that if we put all these resources into a basket, state intervening, local government intervening, we can't get less than 5 trillion naira support for humanitarian activities in Nigeria. If the private sector come in, we have the big companies, from the oil companies to communication to different sectors of the economy. If they can also contribute their own social responsibility also into this basket, it will be huge funding. If even individuals can also contribute, if we actually aggregate our resources with the list that will come from overseas, from donors, we can meet this requirement. And that's why we're here to share responsibility. We have at the local government, if we discuss about poverty, poverty is multidimensional. Primary education is at the local government. Primary health at the local government. Social services at the local government. Most services that are basic to the people is at the local government. Then the states, they have also responsibility. The secondary school is at the local government. Secondary health at the local government. Distribution of water at the state level, So if these services are equally distributed, and they also tackle development, because you can't tackle humanitarian activity, no challenges, with humanitarian solution. Each humanitarian solution requires development, peace, and sustainable livelihood of people. And these things are best done by state and local government. Federal government doesn't have a land. Federal government doesn't have people. The people are at the local government and the state level. So that's why we say we need to aggregate these roles together, work together and partner with the local government and state government so that we can reach these people and target them correctly and also make sure that it's impactful at the same time.
All right, many thanks, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Nentawe Yilwatda, for your input on the Network News.
Thank you.
Thanks for being there. There is a surge in confidence for midwives in South geopolitical zone of the country as they take delivery of their own allocation of 10,000 professional kits from Renewed Hope Initiative. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu handed out the items to them in Asaba, Delta State, with the promise that RHI intervention in the health sector will be sustained to scale down infant and maternal mortality rate. State House correspondent Adeniyi Taiwo reports.
With a blend of anticipation and gratitude, Kingsley Yemi and Ogochukwu Joy await the arrival of Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu in Asaba, Delta State. They are among the 10,000 midwives in South geopolitical zone who benefited from the presentation of protective gears to frontline healthcare workers by Renewed Hope Initiative.
With this, I will be identified wherever I step into the ward, and with the Crocs, my feet are protected from any kind of infection and soil from attending to my patient. And I'm sure that every nurse that know that they have this for free will be so happy to acquire this.
It's also a sign that midwives are now the focus of the medical team.
While the intervention aims to complement the ongoing retraining exercise of 120,000 frontline health workers by the federal government, it will also boost the morale of midwives and aid efforts to stem maternal and child mortality rates.
RHI recognizes the demands of the health profession required not only skills and compassion, but also the right tools and kits to encourage our midwives as they serve others. This donation has been made possible through the generous support of an anonymous global partner dedicated to improving health outcomes for our citizens.
The job of the midwife has become even more demanding as the rapid population growth exerts more pressure on the healthcare system. Without doubt, these professional kits are of immeasurable value to our midwives.
Each item in the kit that you are going to be giving today represents a commitment to life, to health, and to the dignity of women and children. I urge you to deploy the kits for the purpose they are meant for.
Just like it was during our first visit to the state in August last year, the first lady announced RHI Business Recapitalization Grant of 50 million naira to support 1,000 women petty traders in the state.
We plan to introduce more of such programs to help better the lives of families across our dear nation.
The First Lady had earlier met with traditional rulers in Delta State and called on them to join the advocacy for improved health in the grassroots as well as other critical issues of national development. From Asaba in Delta State, Adeni Itaiwu, NTA News.
An INEC says 6 bags of documents containing alleged petitions from concerned voters in Kogi Central was received. The signatures collected from over half of the 474,554 registered voters spread across 902 polling units in 57 registration areas in the 5 local government areas of Adavia, Jakuta, Ogori, Magongo, Okehi and Okene. Statements by INEC National Commissioner for Information, Sam Olumekon, notes that the Commission's immediate observation was that the representatives of the petitioners did not provide their contact address, telephone numbers and email addresses in the covering letter, forwarding the petition through which they can be contacted as provided in Clause 1F of the regulations of INEC and guidelines, as only the telephone numbers of the lead petitioner is provided. INEC says the recall of a legislator is the prerogative of registered voters in a constituency who sign a petition indicating loss of confidence in the legislator representing them. Once the petition meets the requirements of the submission, the Commission shall commence the signature verification in an open process wherein the petitioners and the member whose recall is sought shall be at liberty to nominate agents to observe the verification, which will be done through the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, BVAS. Then INEC will announce the next steps in line with the regulations and guidelines. In the absence of a definite contact address, the Commission is making efforts to use other means to notify the representatives of the petitioners of the situation. The federal government is prioritizing the development of digital innovations, a stronger supply chain for essential medicines and improved data management in enhancing healthcare delivery across the nation. Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Ali Patti, who spoke at the Global Alliance for Women's Health Global Activators Network and Maternal Health Workshop, said President Bola Tinubu's administration is championing better policy execution and intersectoral collaboration across federal ministries, departments and agencies with their subnational counterparts. Professor Patti also acknowledged the crucial role of government at the subnational in ensuring quality healthcare services are delivered to all Nigerians, especially women, with a target to meeting universal health coverages agenda, and explained that the solution to maternal health challenges in the country requires a collective approach of public and private sector, including civil societies.
It's core to the vision of Nigeria as a prosperous country, and with the people at the center of it, and reducing maternal mortality and newborn mortality and child mortality are proxies. No matter what we do, how many roads we have, how much growth we have per capita in GDP, I think if we're losing the number of women that we're losing, I think that's not optimal. So from the government side, I can assure all of you that President Tinubu is very committed to this, and we that are working for him.
The workshop brought together key stakeholders to develop strategies for preventing maternal death. You're watching the Network News. More reports in a moment. Do stay with us. Glad to know you're still there. Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare Professor Muhammad Ali Pati has inspected medical facilities to be used by Nigerian pilgrims in Makkah, Saudi Arabia. The minister, who reviewed ambulance fleet, medical supplies and assessed equipment at the Nigerian Health Clinic in Saudi Arabia, lauded NACAN chairman Professor Abdullahi Saleh Usman's dedication to transparency, service delivery and pilgrims' welfare. The minister assures the federal government's commitment to well-being of the pilgrims while on pilgrimage, especially with global reports on outbreaks of meningitis and other related diseases. He said Nigeria will meet and exceed Saudi Arabia's health requirements and ensure that vaccination documentation, including yellow cards for all Nigerian pilgrims, will be non-negotiable. Now, President Bola Tinubu congratulates former President Goodluck Jonathan on winning the 2025 Sunhak Peace Founders Award. In a statement by Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, President Tinubu applauds the former president for his consistent advocacy for peace, harmony and communality, a patriotic endeavor that has earned him global recognition. The president states that Dr. Jonathan's winning the Sunhak Peace Awards affirms his bold efforts in peace building and promoting democracy in Africa and beyond. And he recalls the former president's historic acceptance of the result of the 2015 presidential election and his peaceful handover of power to an opposition party, which bolstered the nation's democratic profile. The president thanks the Sunhak Peace Prize Committee for recognizing the efforts of those working hard to improve the world. With construction of access road to the second Niger Bridge, Phase 2A, linking Delta and Anambra states, flagged off by the federal government, more economic activities are expected to be reactivated within the southeast and south corridors of the country and beyond. Kenneth Nanim reports.
The 35-kilometer bypass road is one that is critical in facilitating viable economic activities between south-south and southeast zones of the country. Represented by the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oborowari, President Bola Tinubu expresses the resolve of his administration to put smiles on the faces of Nigerians by improving road infrastructure across the country.
This project demonstrates this administration's unwavering commitment to accelerating infrastructural development and economic growth.
Commending Delta State Governor for massive road infrastructure ongoing in the state, Works Minister David Umahi provided insight to ongoing road projects impacted upon by the federal government across the country.
The project doesn't stop there. It continues in Onitsha. The Onitsha to Owerri to Aba is all part of the entire stretch. So I assure you that the entire stretch is taking shape just like we are doing in Sokoto to Zamfara, Zamfara to Katsina, Katsina to Kaduna.
The road projects, the minister says, will be under thorough surveillance to checkmate vandalism. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Nigeria's livestock transformation drive is fast gaining momentum as 100,000 hectares ranch is set to come on stream. The project, which will further boost the industry, is being carried out by Brazilian and Global Ranch Industry (JBJ) in Niger State. Yusuf Jika reports.
JBJ, Brazilian Global Giant Ranching Industry, is now changing the narrative with 100,000 hectares ranch for animal production in Niger State. Facilitated under the leadership of Idi Mukhtar Meha, when formally established, will accommodate more than 200,000 heads of animal production with high return in animal yields. Minister of Livestock Development and his guests were conducted around some livestock demonstration farms in Tagwai by the Niger State Deputy Governor Yakubu Garba.
What we're here for is field trip to ensure that we see with our eye the potential that is there in Niger State. They will now go back and discuss on how do we harmonize our ideas to ensure that, yes, it's sweet what they intend to come and do in Niger State.
By all standards, they are the best candidate to establish this ranch here in Nigeria. And we are satisfied with the progress so far we have seen between us and the Brazilians in the realization of that commitment. And therefore, we are happy with what is happening, and we do believe that in the not too distant future, this will become a reality here in Niger State.
JBG is the second Brazilian firm to express a high-level commitment to invest in the country's livestock industry within a 5-month period. In Mina, Yusuf Jika, NTA News.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has enjoined the Christian faithfuls to use the ongoing Lenten season to pray for peace, unity, and seek for spiritual fulfillment. The Chief of Defense Staff made this remark while breaking Lent fast with Christian officers and soldiers at the Defense Headquarters Chapel, Abuja. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports.
Lent is 40 days long, representing the 40 days Jesus Christ spent fasting and praying in the desert before starting his ministry. The 2025 Global Christian Ritual Lenten season with the theme, Let's Journey Together with Hope, began on 5th March, Ash Wednesday, and will last till 17th April.
Both religions are celebrating the fasting period at the same time.
To create a sense of unity and belonging, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is breaking his fast with officers and soldiers at the Defense Headquarters Chapel, Abuja.
It's a great privilege for us to always be together. And I think this is something that we should always look forward to. If you see all of us here by our faces, you don't know the difference. It is that unity that makes us different as members of the armed forces. And we pray to God Almighty for his blessings now and always. And that the enemy that is confronting us in all directions, God will continue to give us success over them.
The Chief of Defense Operations enjoined the personnel to see the Lenten period as an occasion to redouble prayers and thanksgiving to God for his continuous guidance and protection.
I want to thank our CDS, not for this event, but for encouraging us to actively live by the faith, to actively live by what the Lenten season signifies. Period of repentance, a period of almsgiving.
General Christopher Musa last week had a similar engagement with the Muslim faithfuls at the Defense Headquarters Mosque, Abuja. Ismail Musa, NTA News.
In keeping with the presidential mandate on safer waterways, the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy is mobilizing agencies under the ministry towards the promotion of a sustainable safety mechanism on the country's waterways. Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adeboye Yetola, in a message to the stakeholders' engagement in Oron Akwa Ibom State, says the regulation of operations to minimize boat mishaps remains the priority of government. Clement Barikwi has the details.
Accidents on the nation's waterways, particularly boat mishaps, have continued to claim lives over the years, and many of these accidents, which are avoidable, are caused by human errors. To curb incidents of boat mishaps and other related occurrences in an era when the federal government is boosting the marine and blue economy, is why these stakeholders are here. Put together by the National Inland Waterways Authorities and the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, ORON, the stakeholders' engagement is among efforts by the federal government to open dialogue on breaking the barriers to realizing a thriving marine and blue economy.
The regulations and operations to minimize boat mishap are top of the ministry's priority, and events like this would show his willingness towards that mandate.
Despite challenges, organizers believe Nigeria's inland waterway network, spanning over 10,000 kilometers, holds immense potential for catalyzing economic growth across multiple sectors.
So we have the plan to subsequently
collaborate with our partners and stakeholders, and to take this workshop to other riverine and inland waterways jetty areas within the state and beyond.
I am confident that with collaboration and strategic interventions, we can mitigate these challenges and position Nigeria as a leading force in the global maritime industry.
Practical demonstrations on safety tips to follow while on the sea formed part of the event, while the Maritime Academy of Nigeria Oron donated life jackets to the water transport workers. Clement Barikui, NTA News.
Another break beckons. Network News continues shortly.
But why? No, see, say this big bull bag of rice no get the new big bull holographic seal. Not true.
Introducing the Big Bull Holographic Seal Tape, your favorite authentic Big Bull rice, 50 kg and 25 kg. Now with holographic seal tape. This is to ensure you get the premium product from Big Bull Rice. Do not buy if the holographic seal tape is not on the bag or is broken. Big Bull Rice. Tasty rice nourished you.
Cube, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, in collaboration with the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, wishes to draw the attention of the public to the worrisome increase in the activities of illegal financial operators, IFOs, which threaten public trust and the stability of the Nigerian financial system. The FSRCC and NBC hereby advises the general public to refrain from dealing with unlicensed financial operators who deceive individuals with unrealistically high investment returns. Make sure to verify the licensing status of such companies and schemes on this website. To report any suspicions of illicit financial activities, call Let's work together to uphold the integrity of Nigeria's financial system. Announcer, FSRCC.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
My name is Joy Odagi. One man just called me one day at my house, so I shocked. I say, my man say na 419. How they go call me? Say I register. I say I register. He say make I call my mark. Say me I come collect my with NIN. Make I come collect my ATM card. Come collect money. Now me I go. We see I go with my husband. He say na 419. I reach there. He say he real. They pay me my 75,000 naira. I use the money for my business. Eat for inside. Teach one person how to make soap. To get the card, you need NIN.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Net's Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
Green Imperative Project for Food Sufficiency in Nigeria and Regional Export, plus social economic benefits of women in governance under equal opportunities to fast-track national development. These and more on Conversation on NTA Tuesday Live, coming up on the 25th March 2025. Tuesday Live, every week at 10:30 p.m. Incisive and educative as ever. Join us.
Glad to know you're still there. President Bola Tinubu extends his heartfelt condolences to Pastor Cornelius Ojelabi, the Lagos State Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, and the passing of his beloved wife, Ebunoluwa Esther Ojelabi. President Tinubu, in a statement by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, mourns with the Ojelabi family in this moment of grief and prays for God's divine comfort and strength for her loved ones, friends, and associates. Vice President Kashim Shettima leads a federal government delegation on a condolence visit to the governor of Katsina State, Diko Umar Rada, over the death of his mother, Hajj Serafau Umaru, who passed on last Saturday at the age of 93. The Vice President commiserates with the governor and people of the state over the loss as he conveys President Tinubu's condolence message.
Death is an inevitable destiny that is hanging on everyone's neck. But for her, it's largely a celebration of life. For her to answer the call of Allah at the ripe old age of 93 is worthy of celebration. And also for the prayers that have been offered, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant her eternal rest and give her Al-Jannah Firdaus.
Katsina State Deputy Governor Farouk Lawan thanked the Vice President for the visit and commended the federal government for the honor. Vice President Kashim Shettima was received at the Muhammadu Buhari House in Katsina by the former governor of the state, Ibrahim Shehu Shema, among others. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, condoles with the Governor of Katsina State, Dr. Diko Umaru Rada, on the passing of his beloved mother at the age of 93. In a statement, he observes that losing a mother is an immeasurable loss. The Information Minister also condoles with the people of Katsina State in this moment of grief and prays that Almighty Allah grants her Al-Jannah Firdaus and gives the family the strength to bear the irreplaceable loss. And the family of Oyagbola announces the passing to glory of Chief Adenike Ebon Oyagbola, the first federal minister. Chief Oyagbola, who passed on at the age of 93, is survived by children, grandchildren, and sister. Funeral arrangements will soon be announced by her family, while a condolence register has been opened at her residence for well wishes. And that's it on the Network News. Many thanks for being a part of it. I am Olajide Bello. Good evening.